Hello, beautiful, and welcome to the Moms Talk Sex podcast with me, your host, Mor Yelvington. I'm so honored to have the beautiful Stacy here with me today. Hi, Stacy.
Hello, hello. So great to be here. And what a fun topic to talk about.
Yes, we love this topic and we love to get juicy and a little dirty. So how about
All
you
right.
introduce yourself and let us know what it is that you do in the world?
Yeah. So my name is Stacy Peasall, and I am a sex, love, and relationship coach. And I have been in the coaching world for 12 years now. And the reason that I got into coaching, especially with sex, love, and relationship, is because I struggled in that area. Pretty much all three of those. Had some previous trauma in my life, and I didn't realize how much it was going to impact. Plus, when I was raised, we just didn't talk about any of these things. So I'm really glad that you have this podcast and we're here to be able to talk about it.
Yes, and thank you so much for saying that because it's so true. I feel like so many of the women that I interview and encounter with and other moms, this is really a taboo subject. We don't talk about it.
Mm.
We're supposed to kind of get married and know what it is that we're supposed to perform in the bedroom and how we're supposed to feel based on movies and books that we read, and then reality hits and you're just like, "What? This is not what I
Yeah, this isn't what I imagined.
know." So maybe you can share a little bit about your history and your story and how you actually what you went through and what brought you to become to where you are right now.
Yeah, so I am a survivor, both domestic violence as well as sexual trauma. And I didn't know at that particular point, at the young age of 18 and then going into my 20s, that it would have such a significant impact on my relationships and, being able to be close, being able to ask for what I wanted. I didn't even know what I wanted. I just knew what I didn't want. And I was raised in a pretty conservative household, and it was just me, so no other siblings. My parents never fought. So I thought, I actually said this several times growing up, if my parents ever got a divorce, so the world would come to an end. And well, the world is still here. And well, my parents are no longer together. And so I really, whenever I saw conflict, that came up, I avoided it and I figured it was something wrong with me. And so by doing that, I really closed myself off from myself. I wasn't being authentic. I was very much people pleasing and trying to just be in that fix it mode all the time. And my needs, I needs. So I didn't see that. And really just through my own personal struggle, I realized that I needed help and no one was talking about it. Everybody else was like, "Yeah, it's fine." And girlfriends would talk about like, "Oh yeah, marriage," or things, but we really didn't get into the details. And so I felt very alone and in the search of like, okay, I guess I got to fix me and figure this out. And I feel really blessed. I actually went to a Tony Robbins Date with Destiny. I don't know if you're familiar with that,
Yeah.
but that opened my eyes quite a bit. And I realized I really need to figure this out. I had already done health coaching and life coaching, but the relationship piece, that's where I struggled. And so my relationship ended in a divorce, and that was the catapult that moving me towards trying to figure things out for myself. And then once I did, I got to be able to talk to my girlfriends, and I'm like, you should try this.
Yeah, so what did you tell them to try?
Yeah, so, really learning about the dynamics of control and what we have control over, and that, controlling another person doesn't work, and that really we needed to get into a place where we were identifying what our needs were. Like what is it that you want? What are the things that you don't share and talk about? And so really just starting from that place, writing it down, figuring out like what are those specific needs. Some people, we have all different love language and sex love languages and all of that. And so what is it that we need to feel fulfilled and to feel alive? And so that's really what I started with. Is like, okay, what does it look like? And then looking and managing expectations of what we see on the screen versus what we see inside of our home. So that was the first starting point. And then For me, it was all about redefining myself, right? So getting to know what my body's needs were, listening to my body, in all different areas. And so that I could listen to my intuition. Because when you do that, you start to trust yourself. And, through that process, I learned the importance of self-love and loving all parts of ourselves, even the wrinkles and the cellulite and all the different parts. And by doing so, when you're able to come to a place of that, of confidence, of like that inner beauty, then you come to a place of accepting yourself. And when you can start to accept yourself, you've redefined and you've accepted who you are, then it's easier to communicate to the other person what you need. But if you don't have that confidence and you don't have that inner self strength and you don't have that self love to yourself, you're going to kind of hem and haw and hint and hope the other person gets it. And that does not work.
No, it does not work.
Yeah.
So do the people that come to you, are they mostly couples or single women or individuals? How does that work?
Women. So I only work exclusively with women. I did not want to get in the middle of two people. I wanted to just work with women. That's my expertise, and that's what I've been coaching on for the last 12 years. So just helping to empower women. Yeah.
And what would you say would be some signs for the moms listening, hopefully before they end up in a divorce, to be a wake up call?
Yeah.
'Cause I think a lot of times that's
I
how it
would,
ends and wakes us up. But what is it that,
yeah,
that we should look for the signs beforehand that we are doing this, that, that we need help, that we need support?
sure. So I would say if you're avoiding conflict, then you're creating disconnection. So that's really, so if you're walking on eggshells, if you're afraid of, his mood, you feel like you have some repressed needs that are not talking about, if you've got some stacked resentment that's building, those are all really big signs that needs to be worked on. Because if you're avoiding conflict, you're creating that disconnection. And so when we can redefine conflict as the bridge to connection, now we're talking healthy conflict, we're not talking toxicity, then that can be the bridge. So that would be one of the biggest signs. And I recommend learning what your conflict pattern is. So I break it down into some fun little characters like Shut Down Donna or Out of Here Helen or Pleaser Patty. And so that, Battle Betty is the other one I was trying to figure out. But what is your conflict pattern? Like, do you shut down? Do you try to fight for the relationship? Do you tend to kind of cross the line and fight, or do you just people please and like everything's okay? If you're in that place, that's not a healthy place to be, because you're not being yourself, but you're expecting your partner to be able to relate and understand you when truly you don't understand yourself. So that's really what the redefine is all about, is really taking back your power to learn what are the things that you can control, which is our response and how we're being. So our conflict pattern, and our communication. And if you're kind of tiptoeing and him hawing when you're communicating, that's a sign of, okay, am I more afraid of what the other person's going to think or how they're going to react than the truth that lies within me?
I love that.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. And so what can they do, right? What can they do if they're noticing, okay, yeah, maybe I have some of these patterns. Maybe I find myself in what you're describing. What is something that they can start doing to get more awareness, I would say? Help.
Yeah. So I recommend reconnecting with your body. There's lots of different ways to do that, but most of us are living up in our heads. We're overthinking, we're questioning ourselves, and this can really just make you feel paralyzed. So you want to be able to do something that helps you to drop into your body. So, meditations, heart opening breath work, even just moving your body, going for a walk, journaling what's going on for you. So when you have a complaint or you have something in your life that you don't like, take that somewhere else, not your relationship. So take it to pen and paper, write it down. If you're a verbal processor and you like to communicate, then get your phone up and voice record, but don't take that without having the clarity of what you want. You don't want to take that to your partner because you don't know the end result. So we need to know, what is that end result that you're really wanting? What's that vision? And so sometimes doing some visualization of like, okay, here I am in this spot, and I don't want to be here, and this is where I want to be. And so, what are the things that you need to do for yourself? So, really reconnecting with your own body. I think journaling is a great practice. And some people are like, ah, journaling, I don't want to do that. But we have to get what's swirling around in our head out of there before we just open our mouth, because that's the biggest mistake is we turn to communicate and then the other person doesn't know what's really going on in your mind. And so if you're just communicating, what you don't like, it's going to come across as criticism and they're going to take it personal and then you're going to have an argument.
It's true. And then it's going to affect your bedroom.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's, so if you're doing it that way in your communication, then your communication style in your bedroom, because we're already like sensitive about that and feeling a little bit like, and so, start with something small. If it is something that you're wanting to improve in your bedroom, then start with something small outside of the bedroom. And really, depending upon the relationship dynamics, but if you're in a heterosexual relationship, most men, all they want is just to make you happy. And that's like their drive. That's a success to them if you're happy. And so when we can evoke those hero genes and say something like, it would really make me happy is, and just start with something small if you can't start in the bedroom, but that's gonna start to soften things, and he's gonna go, oh, she's giving me the recipe, the handout, of exactly how to do this, and it makes things so much easier. But you have to know what you want first.
Right. So how does a woman that hasn't really been satisfied in the bedroom, how does she know what she wants and likes in the bedroom?
So that's still reconnecting with their own body. So I recommend, learning your body, what it is, what brings you pleasure and what doesn't. That way that you have a clear idea of like, okay, here's the roadmap to my body. These are the things that I like, and these are the things that I don't necessarily like. And you can just kind of leave the things that you don't like there, but when you're getting closer to something that you do like, and then that's when you say, oh yeah, I really like that. Love that. So like that's when you're giving the encouragement and just, a couple words like that, but reconnecting with your own body to figure that out and then being able to communicate that.
So growing up in a conservative home and having nobody to really talk to about this kind of stuff, what was some like I'm trying to think like if you're a person that's been through a lot and you don't really know where to even start, right? Where to even start? Even being alone with your body feels really shameful, feels really
Yeah.
uncomfortable, right? And so how do you get to a point where that bypassing that? How do we bypass that so you can actually feel comfortable just doing that, exploring your own body?
Great question. I think one of the things that we tend to do is think that we only have like one spot, like we're just centering in on the one pleasure area. And there's so much pleasure in our whole entire body. So if there is some shame or feeling some resistance, start with just even like your arm, right? So like if you just like touch your arm in just a nice way, you're like, oh, like I can feel that. Or maybe start in the shower or, touch your ears or other areas that aren't necessarily quote unquote sexual areas, but just notice that when you slow down and you really reconnect, you can think, okay, actually I don't really like the arm thing. I like this instead. And so start with little things like that because if you're going straight to like the end result, that's so much pressure. And we
Yeah,
want to take that pressure off. And I think that, everybody's focused on the big O and how many can you have and all. But
right.
there's so much pleasure to be had, be even way before that. And so if you can just reconnect with your own body to think, what brings me pleasure? Just like food, we know pretty much like what are the food that brings me pleasure? I mean, like ice cream. Chocolate? Oh yeah, that brings me pleasure. So just kind of treat it the same way, like you know what you like to eat. And so it's the same kind of thing. It's just really listening to your own body to say, okay, I like this and I don't necessarily like this.
I love that. That's such a great advice. So maybe you can share a little success story of somebody that came to work with you and where they are now in their journey.
Yeah. So I just recently had a woman that I was working with, and she was in a toxic relationship, but very much trauma bound to that. She loved like the lifestyle of everything that he was bringing, but it wasn't in alignment with her own values. He liked to party. She didn't even drink. Like just really, really, polar opposites with that. And the things that she was wanting, he was just like, it's just sex. Like, that's all I got. That's all I want to offer. And so, what she realized is when we went through and I helped her to reconnect with her body, she came out with a list of all these things that she likes, but he wasn't interested in even entertaining that. He just wanted to, just wanted, it's done. Go in out. And so that was really helpful for her to realize why she wasn't satisfied is that their beliefs, their values, their desires, they weren't even in alignment. And so it helped her to be able to release that relationship. And then when I worked with her to help her with the next relationship, she could go in, she's got her list, the things that she wants. Here's what's important to me. Here's how I want to spend my weekends. Like most people don't even think about that. Like I want to, and she had lists of like, I want to go bike riding. I want to go to the beach. These are things that she really liked to do. These are the things that light me up in the bedroom. And she had a list of all of those things so that she felt confident. She knew who she was, and then she was able to go out and find someone that met her where she was at. And they have an absolutely beautiful relationship now. So I'm so excited for her. And, when I met her, like I said, she didn't want to give up the other relationship. And so it wasn't until she realized her own value, her own worth, what she wanted, and then what she wanted wasn't wrong with the other part. I think that's where we tend to do is we put things in right or wrong, and there is no right and wrong. There's just what's right for you. And so
Right.
when she was able to accept that and love herself about that, then she was able to manifest the man that really was her dreams and treats her like the queen that she wants and deserves.
I love that.
Yeah.
So, if anybody of our listeners wants to know more about you, on where to find you, where can they do that?
So I'm on social media at Stacy Peasall. So that's just my name. I'm sure you can link it in the show notes for the spelling. So everywhere, just Stacy Peasall. And then I have a Save My Marriage Facebook group. It's a free women's only community where we come together and I do trainings and just help support them in their
Oh, I
marriage.
love that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for this conversation. I feel like there were so many gems in here that if you really tune in and listen, it can really start changing how you're viewing your marriage, how you're viewing your relationships, and also how you're communicating with yourself. So I highly encourage listening again, taking some notes, writing down what Stacy said. It will start really shifting things for you in your life. So thank you,
Yes.
Stacy, so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate it too. Thanks so much more. I appreciate being on the episode.
And thank you guys for listening. And I hope you tune back in again next week. Have a beautiful week.